Welcome to Chapter 13 of our Civil War unit, the Emancipation Proclamation. The Border States. While Abraham Lincoln was opposed to slavery, he avoided talking about it during the election of 1860 and the early stages of the Civil War, saying that his only goal was to preserve the Union. Lincoln did this on purpose in order to keep a few slave states on the Union side. These states included Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. If Lincoln said that the war was to end slavery, the Confederacy would gain 4 new states and all of their resources. Furthermore, if Maryland was lost, then Washington, D.C. would be completely surrounded by Confederate states. Kentucky was equally as important for both strategic and political reasons. Attitudes of the Union. Lincoln also made sure to keep the war's focus on preserving the Union because of the attitude of many Northerners. Most of the North agreed that it was worth going to war to preserve the Union. Few, however, felt that it was worth going to war over slavery. While slavery was basically non-existent in the North, many Northerners didn't care that the South had slavery. The only Northerners who were passionate about ending slavery were abolitionists, and they were sorely outnumbered. Lincoln had to be patient in order to get the support he needed before working to end slavery. Earlier proclamations. Early attempts were made to move towards emancipation. In his first State of the Union address, Lincoln praised the Northern factory system for its freedom. In 1862, Congressman Thaddeus Stevens called for emancipation of the slaves, arguing that it would destroy the Southern economy and win the war. Later that year, General David Hunter issued a military emancipation proclamation freeing the slaves of 3 Southern states, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. Lincoln immediately revoked this order, fearing the backlash from the border states. Perfect timing. By 1862, Lincoln began considering the elimination of slavery as an essential aspect of the war. He said, quote, "The moment came when I felt that slavery must die that the nation might live." While Lincoln felt that he was ready for this, he didn't think the nation was quite ready. Throughout the first 2 years of the Civil War, the Union suffered defeat after defeat. Any political move like this would look desperate to the Confederacy. It wasn't until late 1862, with the Union's first major victory at the Battle of Antietam, that Lincoln felt the nation was ready. The Emancipation Proclamation. On September 22, 1862, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, only 5 days after the Union's victory at Antietam. This action would go into effect on January 1, 1863, but would only free the slaves in the rebelling Southern states. Lincoln did this on purpose so as not to anger the slave states still in the Union. The proclamation was a military action, meaning that it would end with the war. In order to truly end slavery, an amendment would have to be added to the Constitution after the war. Northern response. With the issuing of the Emancipation Proclamation, the North now had 2 things to fight for: the preservation of the Union and the destruction of slavery. Abolitionists were excited. Their hard work had finally paid off. Frederick Douglass wrote, "We shout for joy that we live to record the righteous decree." Many free blacks and former slaves used this exciting opportunity to enlist in the Union Army. With the victory at Antietam and the passing of the Emancipation Proclamation, the Union's fight was renewed and the war started to turn in their favor. Southern response. The South did not take the Emancipation Proclamation seriously, arguing that Lincoln had no power over them. That being said, the South did all it could to prevent their slaves from hearing the news, fearing that they would run away or, worse, revolt. In truth, Lincoln didn't have the ability to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation in the Southern states without a military presence. In order to effectively free the slaves, the Northern Army had to physically go in and free them. Other Southerners thought that the proclamation threatened their way of life. They compared Lincoln's actions to those of the devil. Summary. With the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, President Lincoln freed the slaves in the South, giving the North a cause to rally around and the slaves in the Union states something to hope for. Please make sure to have the term and the summary written down.